William Smith leaving the federal courthouse after being sentenced to 19 years in prison and having to pay restitution of $48 million.
New tonight, we are getting a better idea of where some of the money went that former Detroit Riverfront Conservancy CFO William Smith allegedly embezzled from the nonprofit. It turns out nearly $3.7 million of the $40 million taken went to his girlfriend to purchase extravagant gifts such as sports cars, designer clothing and jewelry, cruises, and travel by private jet. Prosecutors attached these photos of Smith's extravagant lifestyle to their sentencing memorandum, including a picture of his unnamed girlfriend posing next to a $63,000 Maserati. Tonight, federal prosecutors are asking that Smith spend the next 18 years behind bars. Smith is scheduled to be sentenced April 24th.
So we got ourselves another case of getting smoked in a court of law. And I did a video on William Smith some time ago. I believe it was last year that I did a video on this dude. And he was somebody who worked downtown. And it turns out that he had embezzled millions of dollars. Millions upon millions of dollars, okay? He was the CFO of the Riverfront Conservancy, okay? He was in charge over remodeling and rebuilding the riverfront in downtown Detroit. And what he did was take the city's money and decided that he would use it to embezzle funds for himself, for his family, and he would live a lavish lifestyle. Well, sooner or later, you're going to get caught. And right now, William Smith is absolutely cooked. Let's watch.
In with that breaking news at noon, former Detroit Riverfront Conservancy CFO William Smith was just sentenced to 19 years in prison and also ordered to pay $48 million in restitution. Thank you for joining us for 7 News Detroit at noon. I'm Allie Hoxie. This afternoon, we are learning the fate of the ex-CFO William Smith for his massive embezzlement scheme. Smith is charged with wire fraud and money laundering. Prosecutors say he embezzled anywhere between $25 and $60 million from his own nonprofit over the course of a decade, more than a decade. They say he used the money to support a lavish lifestyle until his scheme was revealed. 7 News Detroit's Tiara Braddock was in federal court for Smith's sentencing. She joins us now live from the courthouse with details. Tiara, what happened in court today?
Well, Allie, multiple people spoke in court, including someone who worked for the Conservancy and also the chair of the Conservancy. He called Smith, quote, a snake and the worst guy in Detroit. Now, as you said, Smith had pleaded guilty to embezzling between $40 to $60 million from the Detroit Riverfront Conservancy. And today in court, he did apologize, saying he was sorry for his actions. But the judge said this is just not right. She also went on to say Detroit has been through so much throughout the years that she just couldn't fathom that this happened. So she did sentence him to 19 years in prison and again to pay for more than $48 million in restitution. Now, we did speak to the first assistant U.S. attorney, Julie Beck, about the sentencing. Hear what she had to say about this.
It wasn't a singular act where he reached in and grabbed a pot of money and went on about his way. This was sustained conduct by one individual for his own personal greed.
Now, Smith continues to be out on bond. He will voluntarily surrender himself to federal prison, but right now he is out on bond and again sentenced to 19 years in prison. Live from downtown, Tiara Braddock, 7 News Detroit.
I hope he saved some of that money that he stole. I hope he was smart enough to have some offshore accounts somewhere or something set up to where he can actually pay. How does he pay back restitution of $48 million? Does anybody know how that works? How does that work? I know they probably seize all of your assets and they come in and basically a clean slate wipe and they go over all of your finances. They go over your bank history. They get dirty and they get their hands dirty and they start digging around in your life and find out and go over all your expenses, where you've been spending money at. I'm pretty sure they go and they dig deep and they find out and they uncover all sorts of things. But how do you end up paying that back? Because what if you don't? I know that he definitely doesn't have $48,000 or $40 million liquid sitting around somewhere. So how does it actually work? He's never going to pay that money back. Now, what'll happen is they'll probably seize everything that he ever owned, all of his houses, his cars, and all that shit. So his family is probably fucked, right? But in terms of actually paying that money back, I don't know. I don't think anybody has $40 million sitting around liquid, ready to just hand over. But he's going to have a lot of time to think about it. 19 years, and at his age, how old is he? I don't even know how old he is, but he looks like he's up there, at the very least, he's in his 50s. And he might not have 19 years in a federal prison anywhere. He might not have 19 years. But it just goes to show you, you play stupid ass games and you win. Why would you? They said that this man was laundering money and committing wire fraud over the course of well over a decade. So for a decade, you were walking around living the high life while your city was suffering. Why would you do this after we had already dealt with Kwame Kilpatrick? They said that he was the worst man in Detroit. That's saying a lot, seeing as how we had to deal with Kwame Kilpatrick, who was running through the city, fucking shit up, and just spending the taxpayers' the money frivolously and fraudulently. Kwame Kilpatrick had murders. He had bodies on him and everything, according to what some people believe. So for them to say that you were worse than him means that you was absolutely out here wilding in these streets, in these Detroit streets. But I wanted to read something else for you all before we get up out of here to show you just how harshly they came after him. So not only does he have to pay restitution, not only is he going to spend 20 years in jail, it's over for you. You whatever you had, your family and all of that shit is done. You might as well go. Never mind, I ain't going to say that. I'm not going to say that right here on YouTube. They might strike my video. Anyway, the Detroit Riverfront Conservancy, let me tell you what they did. They requested a judge to issue the maximum 20-year prison sentence for this dude, okay? In other words, they said, we want it in blood. Smoke him for everything that he got. We want it all. Give him the maximum that you can. They wanted to cook him live and direct in person. They wanted to get him the fuck out of here for as long as possibly possible. William Smith is to be sentenced April 24th following his guilty plea in November to wire fraud and money laundering. Prosecutors, well, we already know now that he has been sentenced to those 19 years. He going away for a long time. Says Smith did not simply steal money from a nonprofit. He stole from volunteers and used that money for excess flamboyance and greed. Conservancy lawyer Matthew Snyder. Yeah, this dude is fuck. He's out of here. He's out of here, and that's really it. I just wanted to give you all an update because I did a video on it before. Like I said, I think it was a year ago that I talked about this, and now that we have an update, I wanted to kind of bring y'all up to date. This dude is out of here. He's absolutely smoked. Kiss your whole livelihood. Hope you enjoyed it while it lasted because it's over. Anyway, drop a comment down below if you feel so inclined, and I'll holler at y'all in the next one.